Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanodari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Sodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhujakacharya Asachasara Shishimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Anandagoda Vaishnavini ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Prem Sikha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki Jai, Shri Vrindavanam ki Jai, Shri Mayapurnavidam ki Jai, Gangamaya ki Jai, Jamunamaya ki Jai, Tulsidevi ki Jai, Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Gau Premanandi. All glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories Shri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So before we chant this verse, we'll read the summary of the chapter. This is the last chapter of this canto. Then we're going to go into the 7th canto, which will be exciting. Of course, this is also exciting. This is called Performing the Puṁsavana Ritualistic Ceremony. This chapter explains how Diti, Kaśyapa Muni's wife, executed Kaśyapa Muni's instructions on devotional service. During the first day of the bright fortnight of the moon in the month of Ahayana, November, December, every woman following in the footsteps of Diti and following the instructions of her own husband should begin this Puṁsavana Vrata. In the morning, after washing her teeth, bathing, and thus becoming purified, she should hear about the birth mystery of the Maruts. Then, covering her body with a white dress and being properly ornamented, before breakfast she should worship Lord Vishnu and Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, Lord Vishnu's wife, by glorifying Lord Vishnu for his mercy, patience, prowess, ability, greatness, and other glories, and for how he can bestow all mystic benedictions. While offering the Lord all paraphernalia for worship, such as ornaments, a sacred thread, scents, nice flowers, incense, and water for bathing and washing his feet, hands, and mouth, one should invite the Lord with this mantra: Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahanubhava Mahavibhuti Pathaye Saha Mahavibhutir Bhalim Upaharami. Then one should offer 12 oblations in the fire while chanting this mantra: Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahavibhuti Pataya Svaha. One should offer obeisances while chanting this mantra 10 times. Then one should chant the Lakshmi Narayan mantra. If either a pregnant woman or her husband regularly discharges this devotional service, both of them will receive the result. After continuing this process for 1 full year, the chaste wife should fast on the Purnim, the full moon day of Kartik. On the following day, the husband should worship the Lord as before, and then observe a festival by cooking nice food and distributing prasad to the brahmanas. Then, with the permission of the brahmanas, the husband and wife should take prasad. This chapter ends by glorifying the result of the Puṁsavana function. Sri Rajo Vacha Ratang Puṁsavanam Brahman Bhavata Yad Udhiritam Tasya Veditum Ichami Yena Vishnu Prasidati. Sri Rajo Vacha Vratam Puṁsavanam Brahman Bhavata Yad Udhiritam Tasya Veditum Ichami Yena Vishnu Prasaditi. Sri Rajo Vacha Vratam Puṁsavanam Brahman Bhavata Yadudiritam Tasya Veditum Ichami Yena Vishnu Prasaditi. Sri Rajo Vacha Vratam Puṁsavanam Brahman Bhavata Yadudiritam Tasya Veditum Ichami Yena Vishnu Prasaditi. Prasidati, sorry, yeah. Vratam Puṁsavanam Brahman Bhavata Yadudiritam Tasya Veditum Ichami Yena Vishnu Prasidati. Sri Rajo Vacha Vratam Puṁsavanam Brahman Bhavata Yadudiritam Tasya Veditum Ichami Yena Vishnu Prasidati. Anybody else like to chant? Sri Rajo Vacha Maharaj Prakut said, Ritam, the vow, Puṁsavanam, called Puṁsavana, Brahman, O Brahmana, Bhavata, by you, Yat, which, Adiritam, was spoken of, Tasya, of that, Veditum, to know, Vichami, I want, Yena, by which, Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, Prasidati, is pleased. Translation. Maharaj Prakut said, my dear Lord, You have already spoken about the Puṁsavana vow. Now I want to hear about it in detail, for I understand that by observing this vow one can please the Supreme Lord Vishnu. There's no purport, so we'll go on to the next 3 verses. Sukadeva Goswami said, on the first day of the bright fortnight of the month of Aghyana, November, December, following the instructions of her husband, a woman should begin this regular devotional service with a vow of penance, for it can fulfill all one's desires. Before beginning the worship of Lord Vishnu, the woman should hear the story of how the Maruts were born. Under the instructions of qualified brahmanas, in the morning she should wash her teeth, bathe and dress herself with a white cloth and ornaments. And before taking breakfast, she should worship Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi. Text 4. She should then pray to the Lord as follows. My dear Lord, you are full in all opulences, but I do not beg you for opulence. I simply offer my respectful obeisances unto you. You are the husband and master of Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, who has all opulences. Therefore you are the master of all mystic yoga. I simply offer my obeisances unto you. Purport. A devotee knows how to appreciate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Purnam Bada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever it is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance. Therefore, to take shelter of the Supreme Lord is required. Whatever a devotee needs will be supplied by the complete Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tesam nitya bhuktanam yogakshem vahamyam. Therefore, a pure devotee will not ask anything from the Lord. He simply offers the Lord his respectful obeisances, and the Lord is prepared to accept whatever the devotee can secure to worship Him. Even patram pusam phalam toyam, a leaf, flower, fruit, or water. There is no need to artificially exert oneself. It is better to be plain and simple, and with respectful obeisances offer to the Lord whatever one can secure. The Lord is completely able to bless the devotee with all opulences. Om Jnanatamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksham Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kotavachalang Bhangun Langhaite Garim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shigarum Dinataranam Vanchakalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Most people don't know what is real opulence. People in this world think, have a big house, expensive car, nice, expensive furniture, expensive clothes. This is opulence in the material world. But Lord Chaitanya explains what is real opulence. Prema dana manavyate daridra jivan dasakare vitane more deha prema dana. If one does not have love for Krishna, one is considered to be a daridra jivan, a poor soul. Therefore Lord Chaitanya, he prays, please Krishna, engage me in your service, and all I want as salary is love for you. This is real opulence. To have love for Krishna, this is the highest opulence. You can't get close to that opulence. So, therefore, it's throughout the Bhagavad Gita, throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti is encouraged to attain this this Bhakti, this love for Krishna. Another opulence is renunciation. Renunciation is a great opulence. Now Krishna has this opulence. There's so many planets throughout the many universes. And he arranges their creation, but he has his abode. And especially his renunciation is shown when he was here on this planet and played the flute late at night, and the damsels of Vrindavan came, they're the most beautiful ladies in the creation. And they came, and Krishna said, what are you doing here? It's late at night. It's dangerous. Just go home. What are you doing here? Your relatives are in anxiety. Only Krishna. They even said, the Gopi said, only you can speak like this, Krishna. Here we are, young girls here alone with you, and you're telling us to go home. So this is the epitome of renunciation. But devotees are also renounced, great devotees. Like Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they were ministers, so wealthy, and they gave it all up to live under a tree every night. Different tree. In Vrindavan. Now Vrindavan gets chilly. How many of you have been to Vrindavan in the wintertime? It's cold in the wintertime. And in the summertime, real hot. It gets to be like 120 degrees sometimes, 115, 120. They're living under a different tree. The devotees that live in Vrindavan now, they have air conditioners. Yeah. Oh yeah, otherwise you don't survive. It's so hot. Or they have heaters in the wintertime. But the 6 Goswamis, no. It's said of Sanatana Goswami that he accepted the youthful goddess of renunciation. Amazing statement. He accepted the youthful goddess of renunciation. In other words, renunciation makes you youthful. People that are very attached to things, you become greedy, and you could just see it in their face. Many on book distribution, you could see these people it's just like greed, in their face. Just look like they hadn't smiled in years, because they so many things they want. But to be renounced, it's a great opulence. Yeah. Prabhupada also, he had that renunciation. He had this successful business. He had a big warehouse with all these pharmaceutical medicines in there. But this desire of his spiritual master to preach, it was just there, and it was just becoming more and more prominent. So much so that he just neglected pretty much neglected his business. And an astronomer said that he would have been the most wealthy person in the country had he stuck with it. But he knew what is real wealth, Krishna consciousness. So, yasyaham anugranami hristi taddanam chinai. To show special mercy to my devotee, I take everything away. So Krishna took everything away. And then he just really focus on giving the knowledge, which is another opulence. Yeah, another great opulence. And this is what Krishna has. He knows everything. And the devotees also. Like Sanatana Goswami, he was so knowledgeable. Knew so many languages and so respected because, he was the king's right-hand man. He was so intelligent. But what did he ask Lord Chaitanya? Kayami. Who am I? They praised me for being so knowledgeable. I know so much. But who am I? Kayami. Very humble. Yeah. He had this, that's another opulence, humility. Him and his brother, Rupa Goswami, they went before Lord Chaitanya, straw in their teeth. Exhibition of humility. So these are some of the opulences. And Srila Prabhupada also tells this story of Sanatana Goswami. And this one person who was a Shivite, and he was worshipping Lord Shiva. For what? For wealth. A lot of people worship Lord Shiva for wealth, and Durga also. This is why Durga and Shiva are so popular in India. And Krishna is not so popular because he takes away the wealth. They're a little reluctant to worship Krishna. No, he's going to take everything away. So he was worshipping Shiva to such an extent that Lord Shiva appeared to him. I'm pleased with your service. What is it you want? I want wealth. I want lots of wealth. So Lord Shiva said, then you should go to Sanatana Goswami. Because Lord Shiva, he's Vaishnavanam Yatashambhu. He knows, he's the greatest Vaishnava. He knows what is real wealth. And he knew Sanatana Goswami is there in Vrindavan. So you should go to Sanatana Goswami and you can get wealth from him. I said, okay. Went to Vrindavan. And he found Sanatana Goswami and he paid respects to him. And he said to him that I've been worshipping Lord Shiva for wealth, and he directed me to you. And Sanatana Goswami said, so what kind of wealth do you want? Do you want material wealth, or do you want spiritual wealth? I want material wealth, and a lot of it. Okay. There's a touchstone over there in that pile of garbage. You can get it, and you'll become very wealthy. He took his word. All right, he went and he found this touchstone. And he went and he thanked Sanatana Goswami, went on his way. His touchstone. What is iron, right? You touch iron, it turns into gold. Anything. All right, so he eventually had a lot of wealth. Big palace, so much opulence for years. But he wasn't happy. So then he started thinking, this Sanatana Goswami, he asked if I wanted material or spiritual wealth. I have material wealth, but I'm not happy. Maybe the spiritual wealth, maybe that will actually bring me happiness. So he went back with this touchstone. And he said to Sanatana Goswami, you know, this touchstone, all this wealth, it didn't bring me any happiness. Can you give me the real wealth, the spiritual wealth? He said, yes. But first you take the touchstone and you throw it in the Jamuna. So he did. He had faith. And then when he came back, He said, now you chant this mantra and you'll attain the highest spiritual wealth. That'll bring you complete satisfaction. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So he did that, and he became very happy. So this brings real wealth, yeah. Inner happiness. So here in this verse, it's mentioned that this is a very famous verse, this Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, that the personality of God is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are completely equipped as complete wholes. And also, there's so many incarnations of Krishna that are emanating from Krishna, and they're also complete. And the first expansion of Krishna is Balaram. And it is said that the only difference between Krishna and Balaram is color. But there's an interesting pastime with Srila Prabhupada, Jamuna Devi, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and what was the king of Kirtan? What was his name? Madhudvisa. Madhudvisa. So they were talking about this, and Yamuna Devi said, actually there's many more differences between Krishna and Balaram. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Radharani is the only beloved of Lord Krishna. He's the Krishna, he is the cause of all causes. And she went on, she was going on. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Madhudvisa were there, and they were like, wow, yeah, that's interesting. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, you know there's that statement that the only difference between Krishna and Balaram is the color. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is correct. But Yamuna Devi is saying that there's many more differences. You know, Krishna is the cause of all causes. Radharani is the only beloved of Krishna, and he's you know, everything is emanating from him. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's correct. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, but Prabhupada, how is that possible? And Prabhupada looked at him and said, you decide. that was it. End the conversation. So there are some differences, but everything is everything is emanating from Krishna, and he's the designer. He's arranging so many things. Yesterday I was speaking to one atheist at the university. And I said, whenever you see design, there's a designer. Yeah? I mean, look at this world. You know, so many things, you know, that we're eating. You know, it's like you take a mango. I asked him, do you like mangoes? Oh, he said, I love mangoes. So if you take a mango and you put it in the ground, it's just dirt. It's just dirt. And you put some water, you water the seed, and a mango tree comes up and you get these nice mangoes. I mean, that's not by chance. I mean, give the scientists some ingredients and see if they can make a mango. And he said, yeah, I don't think they could do it. And if whatever they tried to do, it wouldn't taste very good. Although I heard in China now they're making rice. Plastic rice. And people are eating it? Plastic rice. And they're selling it as rice, right? Probably doesn't taste too good. But, so I was telling the student, yeah, I mean, look at this amazing design. Nobody is in anxiety, is the sun going to rise tomorrow? And this is going on for millions of years. So much design. There must be a designer. It's logical. And then he he was still a little reluctant to understand. And I said, well, there's different concepts of God. There's the Christian concept of God. There's the Judeo concept of God. But we don't believe this concept of God. If you're sinful, you go to hell and you burn forever. No, there's no such God in existence. God is very kind. And therefore, if we make a mistake, we get another chance. And then, interesting, he said, therefore there's reincarnation? Yes, there's reincarnation. He caught that. There's reincarnation. Without reincarnation, the whole thing doesn't make sense. There's got to be reincarnation. We get another chance. This is the kindness. This is the kindness of Krishna. And who is more kind than Krishna? I mean, that would be really cruel, to send someone to hell forever just because he made a mistake. It's like they say that if you don't accept the Lord Jesus in your heart, then you burn in hell forever. It's just a thought crime. Thought crime. That's pretty intense thought crime. So no. So he bought a book after that, so it was positive. So interesting, this in this purport, Prabhupada mentions this verse, Tesam nityabhayukyanam yogaksem vahamyam. Also a very famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Now there was one devotee who read this and he thought, it must be a mistake. Because here it says that Krishna carries what his devotee lacks. As though he's doing service. He's personally doing service for his devotee. But he's saying, well, wait a second, God, he's God. Krishna's God. He doesn't do personal service for his devotee. So he actually, he marked it out in the Bhagavad Gita. Must have been an editorial mistake. Yeah? Javita didn't see it. Huh? A rascal editor. So then he went to do some. He went to bathe in the Ganga, and he's going to come back and take prasad. But while he was gone, two boys came, and one of them was carrying many of the things that he needed. Was his name Arjunacharya? Was that his name? I think it was Arjunacharya, yeah. So he needed some things, and one of them had all these things he needed. And so knocked on the door, and the wife opened the door and saw the beautiful boys. Yeah. One was in blue complexion, one in white complexion, and of course, Krishna, he said, your husband, he needs these things. We brought these things for your husband. And she said, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. But I see these scratches on you. What is that? Oh, that was done by your husband. My husband? My husband is a qualified Brahmin. He would never do that. No, your husband did this to me. No, I just find that inconceivable. Please come in, and my husband is coming soon, and you could see my husband. No. He might harm us in another way. We have to go. So they took off. And then when he returned, Arjunacharya, she said, these two beautiful boys came, and they had all these things that we're in need of. And he had one of them had these scratches. And I asked about it, and he said, you did it. Scratches? I scratched some beautiful boy? No. And then he put the two together, because he needed all these things, and Krishna brought all these things for him, and he had scratches on him. So that was Krishna. That was Krishna. And he had these scratches because I marked on the Bhagavad Gita. So after I heard this story, I never, sometimes devotees, they underline in the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, they're not marking out the actual text, they're just underlining, but I don't take any chances. So Krishna, he likes to serve his devotees. And of course the devotees, they like to serve Krishna. And the devotees like to serve the devotees also. Yito prasyaya imanasya bhagavantam vibhabashum sitam boyam tamopyeti sadyam. Oh, you're not getting the last line. Anyway, this is a verse spoken by Lord Krishna to Uddhava. And he says a person may be in the forest, it's dark, it's cold, fearsome. But if he goes to a sacrificial fire, immediately the darkness is gone, the cold, the fear is gone. Similarly, by serving great devotees of Krishna, the darkness, the dullness, the ignorance is all vanished. This is the result of serving great devotees. We get purified of contamination. We become enlightened by serving great devotees. Satam basangang mama virya sangvado bhivantivit karna sayanagata tadyosanat asvava varga vartmani shradharatir bhakti anukramishiti. And what do devotees like to do? They like to come together and glorify Krishna. Mama virya sangvado. They like to hear the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. And what is the result of hearing about Krishna and the association of other devotees? Become liberated. We become liberated from material contamination. Shraddha, we gain great faith in Krishna. Wouldn't that be nice? See, there's nishta, and then there's adausha, there's beginning faith. Adaushraddha tatashadu. There's beginning faith, and then there's nishta, there's firm faith. Man, to have that firm faith means that you made it. Just to have that firm faith that whatever happens is wonderful. That Krishna is wonderful. Whatever he arranges is wonderful, because Krishna's in control. Shraddha ratir. Then we get a taste for Krishna consciousness. We're not interested in all this other nonsense in this world anymore. We just want to serve Krishna. You get a taste. It's like yesterday I was at the Krishna Land, I was speaking to one person, and he was saying how he went to another religious group, and they were saying that he can't come if he drinks alcohol, or if he does any sinful activities. They won't allow him to come. And I said, well, no, you can come here. And what happens gradually, if you practice Krishna consciousness, you give up drinking. And you won't want to drink anymore. You won't want to smoke anymore. You won't want to eat meat anymore. You get a higher taste. And I explained, just like if you have a job and you find out about a better job, higher pay, less hours, nicer people, then you renounce that other job. You get something, you get a higher taste. So that's what this is. You get a higher taste. If you practice Krishna consciousness, then you'll give all that up. And you'll be happy. You'll have inner happiness. He said, oh, well, that sounds better than the other place I was at. So, that gradually happens. Actually, Prabhupada even said that if the alcoholic is drinking and is thinking that this is Krishna, the Rasoham apsakontaya prabhasmi sasasya pranava sarvedesu sabdake prasandashu. That the part of Krishna is in here, and he gets purified. He gets purified. And this is the result of hearing about Krishna, of practicing Krishna consciousness. We get this higher taste. Shraddha Bhakti, and then that's the highest, is we get bhakti. We get love for Krishna. And then, no interest, no more interests in this world. Yeah. No more interest. Won't that be nice? No more Maya, just Krishna. So, is there any question or comment? I went over a little bit. Yes, Balaram Prabhu. He'll be at birthday boy tomorrow.
Yeah, sorry. It's interesting because you were mentioning, you're talking to this fellow out on book distribution, and you're telling him the different concepts of God and how we don't accept this concept that, there's a God, he sends you to hell forever if you don't do the wrong thing. But I was just thinking about it, and there's a lot of people who accept that concept, like a lot.
And they're scared. Actually, that's one of the techniques that Christians use. If you don't surrender, you're going to burn in hell forever.
Scary.
Yeah, they scare the hell out of you.
Literally, right?
Yeah, scare the hell out of you.
Literally.
Literally.
Scared as hell.
Scared as hell.
So my question is, if it's such a unintelligent conclusion, why do so many people accept it?
Well, it's Kali Yuga. There's a lot of stupid people out there. And a lot of people also become atheists just because of this perverted concept of God. That God is so cruel, How could there be such a person? I mean, even here in San Diego, if a father beats his son, he can go to jail for months. I don't know how. I heard of one story of a Indian man who he was punishing his son. He hit him. He called the police. He went to jail for 6 months. The father went to jail for 6 months, and then when they got back, after he got back, went back to his job and his home, and his son is there. And after a few months, he asked his son, "Hey, you want to go on a trip to India?" Let's go to India. He said, "Yeah, let's go to India." As soon as they got out the plane, man, he beat that kid, boy. Because in India, they don't. Of course, it's abused in India. I'm sure it's. That's probably why that rule is there, because a lot of abuse, a lot of parents abused their children. So in one sense, it's good, but punishment has to be there also. So, but there has to be a proper balance. Unfortunately, I'm sure it's been misused a lot. Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Just, I'm aware, I don't know if everyone's aware that established religions, what's known as the established religions, you know what they are in America, are waning. Even during Prabhupada's time, the temple in LA was a church. Temple in Toronto was a big church, and no one was coming, and they wanted to sell it, and so we bought it. And Prabhupada mentions that in a lecture sometime.
There's a lot of empty churches.
Yeah, and especially I think in Europe it's even more like England and like that. So what's happened is, this was a tradition, the Christianity, and people, they learn it from childhood. You're trained in that, and your parents, and so naturally the kids get into it. But you talk to so many devotees. I know so many devotees who were trained as Catholics or whatever, especially Catholics, and they wanted to know more about God, and they couldn't get anything. Or even more prominent is suddenly, you hear about all this abuse. These stories keep coming out. The priest. There's a wonderful article, I should read it one time, by Rabindranath Sarup. You remember that? Where he went to a seminary in Philadelphia. He was invited and he spoke, and they were very fascinated and everything. And then after the lecture, they went to a more informal room, and he was still with them, and he was asking, "What do you do when you're not praying and doing it?" "Well, we're watching TV, we're kicking back, and this and that. And if only we could get a date, we could." And
they were lamenting we can't even have a date with a girl.
Yeah. And so Rabindra Swarup, suddenly he became angry because he saw that they weren't being provided with the higher taste to make it possible to really be strict, priests. And so many of the priests, they abuse the kids and this and that. When that comes out, then it's a huge thing. Especially some huge stories came out of over years, like that. Yeah. And so, and everything is known now. See, this is the thing with the internet, that you can't hide anything.
It's an ongoing problem.
Yeah,
also.
And so fewer and fewer of the younger people are buying into it. Just rather get on TikTok. And they need to have the alternative of Krishna consciousness and the philosophy. And that's a wonderful story, how you're able to show that there must be a God because of the design, but he's not a vengeful God. They have this thing with vengeful God. The whole thing is based on fear, which is destructive. But our whole thing is based on love. Yeah. It's actually based on love, and that's why it's Krishna consciousness can attract people from those religions.
Very nice class, Vijay Prabhu. I had just a couple really quick comments, but I do have two questions. Sure, I can bring this to you when I. Okay, you asked the question, who's more forgiving than Krishna? Is that, when did you say that? Who's merciful? Oh, okay. We thought Bhakti Saul was our answer for that. Also, I heard a story about that rice being developed in China. It was developed by devotees in an ashram. They were trying to find an Ekadasi-friendly grain. Okay, sorry. All right, well, that's a joke. We think, plastic. Does that qualify? So, we have a pot washer, and he's been here for a couple months, and he just mentioned in the alleyway when me and Purushottam were there late at night, he said, you know what? I've been doing pots here for a while, and I'm taking this prasadam, and I haven't eaten meat for 30 days. And we said, Jai. Yeah. And Purushottam said, if you wait 4 months, all your cells turn over, and you're basically like vegified. So hopefully he's staying the course. And there was another. I think for the organ to be completely reconstructed, but he said cells, so I don't know. I would take either one. Well, that's good. Go 7 years. It's better than 4 months, right? Yeah, go the 7 years. There was another person. Put some batteries in one of those. That was they had come and they started eating prasadam for a week, and they had been eating other stuff, and they said after a couple days. They spent a couple days just flushing them. Like once there was enough prasadam, then it just started flushing everything out for a couple days. So a week of prasadam, and it just reset the whole system. Like all the non-prasadam stuff he was eating. Yeah, he said after a week of prasadam, he had like a couple days where it was just like he was cleansed, right? It was like the purification mark, like a dam breaking, and everything, came through. No, not him yet, but. Okay. This leads me to my two questions. One is, that was actually one of the first great reliefs I had when I finally came to Krishna consciousness after being raised Christian and then studying Buddhism and sort of merging the two aspects that I liked in Krishna consciousness. Was like, so I'm not going to go to hell forever and burn. It was like such a relief. Like it was like I carried that for a long time, just being like, wow, this is amazing. I just have to stay this course, and I'll keep getting a chance to get it right. This is so wonderful. So I remember that was that was the biggest relief for that first year I was in Krishna consciousness. So there was a person on the patio yesterday. I was talking to them, and they were saying that I was trying to tell them a little bit about the philosophy and what we're doing here. And they said, actually, I have this great desire to be Jewish because my father was anti-Semitic. So that's their motivation. I want to be Jewish because my father. So I was wondering because it's your motivations for doing it, right? Getting a higher taste. So what do you think about that motivation? My dad was this, so I want to be the opposite. My dad hated Jews. So I want to be a Jew. And I was trying to say, that's good, but you could also be a devotee. And it's a little, but they seem so fixed on that. So how would you preach to someone who wants to be religious, but maybe that motivation is not so solid in terms of coming to Krishna?
First of all, my understanding is you can't become a Jew. You're Jewish or you aren't Jewish, right? verses. Wow. Got 3 in one day. It's a big racial thing, yeah. The racist.
Thank you for thank you for listening and answering. I have a question about the text. So at the end of the last chapter was Kaśyapa Muni telling Diti all these instructions about this vow. So now Sukadeva Goswami seems like he's just reiterating this to Maharaj Parikshit. So I'm wondering, why do we have this reiteration? Like, we just heard this vow being given. So now we're beginning this chapter with this vow being instructed.
I think more will be given. More detail. He wanted. That's what he said. I want to hear more detail.
Okay.
About the vows that she takes. And
if you actually follow it, then you're worshiping the mind, you're worshiping Lakshmi, so you should have a.
Okay. And Kaśyapa Muni gave it to his wife in a way that she couldn't follow. Are we getting a better narration of this vow, one that's actually followable, or is it?
Well, she's not able to follow it. I mean, so therefore, her desire wasn't fulfilled. But he purposely made lots of details so that she couldn't follow.
But is this narration followable that we're getting now? Is this a more?
Maybe they stripped out the whole thing. You don't use your hand when you want water. You can't go in when you're bathing.
Yeah.
And a million different things. You're not going to hear those.
Okay. They trimmed the impossible off of it. All right. All right. Thank you. Very well.
Okay. We have one more question. It's getting a little late.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can you explain, you mentioned story about Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada answers him that you decide. Can you explain what it means?
In other words, what Yamuna Devi was saying is true, but that's also in scripture. The only difference between is the Krishna and Balaram is the color. So he just, it kind of was like a joke, you decide, and just left it at that. So I can't say any. Davida, you want to say anything? I don't know if I could say anything more than that. Bring the mic to Davida, Prabhu. We had 3 mics go out in one day. That's pretty amazing.
Nobody conscientiously replaced those batteries every day. So I'm just thinking of a passage in the Krishna book that I'm reading Krishna book every day, and there's a point there. I think it's after they all go to Kurukshetra, and then they come back to Dwarka, and Krishna and Balaram come before Vasudev, and he totally knows that they're God, It's not like Nanda where,
Yeah.
So he's glorifying them. He's all these prayers, and he's addressing them as one person. He says, "You are," and Prabhupada, right? Krishna Balaram is the supreme personality of Godhead. In other words, they have identical powers, but they don't always show them that way. And that's why in Dhenukasura pastime, right? Balaram is featured in that whole chapter. He's the one. Krishna glorifies him and everything, and it's not false. When Prabhupada says the only difference means is that they are equally as powerful, equally as beautiful, and Balaram, but Balaram has his own personality. In other words, he has this whole thing with Duryodhana, doesn't want to see the fight, and leaves on pilgrimage and goes around, But if you see that in terms of the powers, basically he has the same qualities as Krishna. That's when he goes to Vrindavan, they're all completely enlivened, because and he's telling him about Krishna, reminding him and so forth, and so they're relieved to see him. So there is a oneness there, but of course there's a difference simultaneously. So that's the idea, is that he, being the immediate expansion, he has the same powers and the same beauty even,
Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.